Hiya and welcome back to our slightly dreary small holding here in northwest Wales. I thought while there's a little break in the rain I will take you for a little look around because some things have changed. My in-laws were here for a couple of weeks and they got involved in the gardens, which was really nice, but that means some things have changed, so I'll show you what we've done, what we've harvested, and if it does rain then I'm gonna hide in the shed and start some seeds for the autumn and winter gardens. But all the time it's not raining, we're gonna get out there. I'm not sure what we're gonna do today, but I'll take you along with me and we'll see how we go. So the first big change is that this is what my potting shed looks like right now. My sister-in-law pulled a load of these onions for me. We've been using them just sort of one at a time as I've gone over the past few weeks, but they really were ready and we had a couple of dry days, so we got out there and she pulled all of these. So yeah, as I said, we had a couple of dry days, then it was supposed to rain overnight, so we thought we'd better get them in and out of the ground because a couple were starting to go a little bit soft and I didn't want any of them to rot. We got them pulled and then I've literally just brought them in here and laid them out on this cardboard because it's going to be so wet outside. I don't want to leave them to try and dry outside because there's no chance at the moment. So I'm hoping that this will just start to cure them, and then once the next go a bit dry, I will hang them up and we'll store them that way for the longer term. It would be great to have like a drying rack. You can see what I've done with the smaller ones over here. So this is under my potting bench. The smaller ones just fit in those little gaps. So I hung them in there and they'll dry like that, which I think this is the ideal way to do it. I don't have anything to do the rest of those on like that, but hopefully this will work. We'll see how it goes. The puppy has discovered the joy that is a hose pipe. These little greenhouses have actually been really handy just to keep some of these more tender things out of the wind and actually giving me a chance to keep some of them alive. So we've got some cucumbers in here because they did not appreciate being outside. And then I've got some perennial things that are just waiting for a home outside, but this is a good place to keep them. More cucumbers. Every time I go home to my mother's, I pinch some strawberry runners because I've only got a couple of plants here and I've got a lot of space, so every time I get the opportunity to have some runners off of somebody, I take them in the hopes that next year we'll have a good number of strawberries. Before I got these greenhouses, these peppers took quite a knock and they were really stunted. They do seem to have recovered in here, probably not with enough time to actually come to anything, but it's good to know that a greenhouse in these conditions can still do it. So this here, as well as these, are some osteospermum I grew from seed, so hopefully next year we'll get a nice flower display on those. There is quite a lot of empty space in these right now, but there won't be for long because we're about to start a boatload more seeds. And in here we've got a load of tomatoes that never were, that's fine. They'll go in the compost. But the peppers and the grapes have gone nuts in here. There's some tomatillos up there, but we're a bit behind on those, so that's probably right off for this year. But these, you can see my peppers are quite happy in here. And then we've got our grapevines at the back there. I've also started some more seeds already. That's just some spring onions and some more leaves, but we'll be starting a lot more things in the coming days. So last time you were here, this whole patch was filled with peas and salad greens that had gone to seed. My mother-in-law and I spent a couple of hours out here just completely getting everything out of this bed and then replanting it. So I'll show you what we've put in. So we've put some oregano and some marjoram in here, and then we've got some climbing beans at the back there. I've also direct sown some beetroot in this area, and we've got some more spinach and calendula put in over here. I've not had loads of luck with my climbing beans this year. Dwarf beans have been fine, so I have to assume that it's wind related. As soon as they start to try to climb up something, they get above the windbreak level, because down at ground level here it's not too bad, but as soon as they get up a few feet high, then they lose the protection that hedgerow has given them, and then they just start to wither and look very sad. So I'm giving it another go here just because I already had this frame. We had peas on this frame. I have learnt a lesson from the peas. I put peas around this entire teepee, but all that did was make it so that I couldn't get into the middle to weed, and there was just so many thistles growing in there, and that was quite a job to get them out. So this time I've only planted the back half of this teepee, so that'll leave this front part open. That I'm just going to put herbs in and things like that, so that I don't end up blocking myself off from places to weed, because I'm still dealing with a lot of weeds in this space. I think in time I would quite like to make some of these beds more permanent, maybe make them raised, not necessarily too high, but just, put sides on them so they're a bit more permanent and easy to maintain, and then perhaps I'll put a few more perennial herbs and things like that in for the longer term, and then these will stay a bit more permanent, and then the beds around the edge will be the sort of annual veg. I do absolutely love like a full 6-foot frame for peas and beans and training tomato vines up, but as you can see, nothing is getting too high in this garden, so I think I do have to accept that is not in the cards for me. I think they look gorgeous and I love seeing them when you have, squash vines trained up a big arch trellis. It looks so beautiful, but I don't think that is in my future here, because you got to work to the conditions. So I think I just have to bear in mind that I need to keep things a bit lower to the ground, unless they are going to be okay with wind, which is not the case for most annual veggies. So we're going to be keeping things a bit more compact, and if that means growing more dwarf beans rather than climbing beans, then so be it. Borage is keeping the bees happy. So this bed here is where all the onions came out of, so I need to get something in there sooner rather than later, otherwise it's going to be filled with weeds. And this, I did harvest some of the outer stalks of the celery, because it's coming on so well, but wow, did that pack a punch. It's got some serious flavour. So I learnt to use that a bit more sparingly. I've mainly grown it for using in sort of like soups, stocks and things like that, so that's not a problem, but I did chop some up into a fresh salad, and Hey farm doggo, how you doing? Hey, where's he? Oh, he's a nice puppy. We have been getting fresh tomatoes now, they are ripening. As you can see, we're getting a lot of splitting, but I mean, it's not surprising, it's rained so much, and that is just what it is. So we're still using these, we're just cutting off any sort of split bits. If it's freshly split, then I don't really mind, but if it's been split for a while, then that bit can go a bit hard, so we tend to just cut that bit off, but otherwise they've been fine to eat. And nasturtiums are doing their job still. Hey little buddy. So unsurprisingly, we've been inundated with courgettes. I've been coming up with some new ways of using these, because I don't love them just sort of like chopped and cooked, so I'm trying to incorporate them into things and make good use of them. So I've been having a bit of fun with that. There's still some red onions in. Oh, we've got seed head here. Okay, he's got to come out. Let me show you. Right, so these onions here I left it in because the white onions the leaves had flopped over on the top, and that's how I knew it was time to get those out, whereas these red onions hadn't, so I left them. But as you can see now, they're starting to form seed heads, which is this bit here, so that would open into a flower if I left it. So I think that's a sign that I need to get these out of the ground and used up. Okay, so I'm just going to grab any of these that have gone to seed, and then I won't bother trying to store them. They will just be used for fresh eating. So here we go. I have pulled these ones because, as you can see, this here is a flower bud, and once they start to form that means that all the energy from the bulb is going to go into creating that flower, so the bulbs won't grow anymore, and all they will do is start to rot in the ground. Hey bub. So it's fine at this stage, they'll still be tasty, it still works as a good salad onion, but it's not going to store, so these will just be eaten in the next couple of weeks, and I'll just take them inside now. Now I've left a couple in there because I haven't gone to seed yet, but I would imagine that they'll probably follow fairly soon if those are the conditions that have led these ones to go to seed. But I'd rather them store out here in the ground than me have to take them in and use. So if that buys us an extra week or two on them, then I'll leave them out here for now, and accept that we're not going to be storing red onions, which I didn't expect anyway. So the white onions that I grew have good storage properties, and these were just going to be like fresh eating in salads through the summer, so all is well. So with these onions, as I say, I will keep the white onions in storage for as long as I can, but I think I will also dehydrate some. I love dehydrated onions. I think that works really well, really good for storage, really easy to store. They don't take up a lot of space. I like having them chopped in the freezer ready to use, but at the end of the day that's taking freezer space, and that is at a premium. So I think what I will do is get around any that don't look like they're gonna dry well, between obviously these red ones and the brown ones that are in the stables at the moment. Any that don't look like they're going to keep well, any that do, I'm going to string up and just use them as I go. Hopefully they'll keep well for the next 6 months or so, but any that don't, I think what I will do is chop them and dehydrate them, and then we'll have some ready to go dehydrated as well. So I wasn't planning on doing any harvesting in this video, but you know, sometimes it happens. So I put some more dwarf beans in over here a few weeks ago, as you can see. Oh, hey bee. They're doing great. I think I'm going to leave these ones and see if I can get some dried beans. I'll still pick what we want for fresh eating, but I have put up some beans already from the first round of plants. So these I'm going to wait and hopefully see if I can get some good dried beans for eating over the winter. Okay, I think that is enough chit chat for now. While the weather's nice, I want to get on and make the most of it and get some stuff done. So I think that's going to mean direct sowing a few more things. I'm going to put some potatoes in because I am hosting Christmas this year, and I would love to have my own veg on the table. So I'm going to do a video about that, but I think today is the day that those potatoes really do need to go in. So let's get on that, and then we'll see what else needs to be done today. But before we do any of that, I'm going to go and see the chickens because I've got some scraps for them, and I need a bit of chicken joy in my life right now. Hello girls.
Can I come in?
Hey there girl. So this bed here is where I'm going to put these potatoes in. I've not put any seed potatoes this year. It's not been by design or anything. I just, every time we've had potatoes, if like one or two have gone over at the end, I've just popped them in the ground, and that's kept us in a steady supply of potatoes so far. So I've collected up a few where they've gone a bit too far over in the last couple of months, and kept them to one side, and I'm going to pop those all in now. All I'm going to do is take the fork, make a little bit of a trench, build up on one side just so that I can flip that dirt back over on top as those potato plants start to grow, in terms of mounding them up, and otherwise pretty much leave the potato to get on with it. So we'll see how we go. I'm going to put one more in here. There we go, next round of potatoes planted. Hopefully be eating those on Christmas Day. So I'm not going to water them in because it's definitely going to rain today, and it's definitely going to rain every day for the next week or so. So that's the upside of all this rain. Don't have to worry about watering the garden. So just up from where I've put those potatoes in, these are those peppers that I had practically written off. They have chosen life. Can't believe the comeback that they've made. I mean, it's probably all futile because it's middle of August now, and I'm not expecting loads of sun in the next month. It has not been an inspiring summer in terms of hot weather veggies, but they are flowering and they are trying, so kudos to them. There are a couple of fruits on there. As I say, I don't think I've got time to get anything ripe off of these. They are so far behind, but nonetheless, I'm still quite impressed with how much life they've managed, to be honest. Oh, Amy. So there we go. That's the morning. Hi. That's the morning with me in the garden. I'm gonna get in my ears is a tad far. So thank you for spending this morning with me. That's pretty much a typical non-rainy morning. Just bits and bobs, harvesting here and there, planting things here and there. I'm not a big wave person. You know, I don't tend to do hours and hours of the same thing. I like to do bits and bobs here and there, build it as I go, which I think is working quite well because it means we get harvests regularly, like little and often, which I think is good because it means we're eating fresh all the time without having to preserve up loads and then have nothing for the rest of the season. It's so mild here that realistically most things can just keep plodding along through the season, so it's worked out really well so far. Now I'm going to go and have a nice homegrown lunch. I'm thinking probably some soft boiled eggs, and then I've just been doing like whatever veggies are coming out of the garden, roasted up, and then just dipping them in a soft boiled egg. If it continues to not rain today, then I'm going to come out here and do a bit more, but otherwise I'll leave it at that for now. So thanks so much. Cheers guys.